some others joining us as well. So we have Director Spry, and we also have Assistant Director Moore. Next order of business then is public comment. So we will open up the meeting for anyone who wishes to speak on any of the agenda items we have. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? All right, hearing none, I close public comment and move to our next order of business, which is the approval of past meeting minutes. And did everyone have the opportunity to read minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Is there any changes needed to minutes? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 3rd, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 3rd. I second that motion.
Thank you. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, passes. Next order of business is the certificate of appropriateness report. We have no new certificate of appropriateness, so there's no need to ratify. Director Spry, do we have any public correspondence?
Nothing.
Easy, thank you. Moving then to old business. First order of business is the zoning ordinance amendments for Article 7. Spry, would you bring this up to speed where we are?
Well, we worked this last week with Matthew to incorporate the designation criteria as well as other suggested amendments. We are at a point where I think the demolition language is where we're sort of on hold for a moment. I would like to express that I'm hopeful that by our next meeting, we can adopt Article 7. So, which means that we'll have to work through the demolition language and talk with the administration, talk with code enforcement about it.
And the timeframes. Is that part of it?
The timeframes
Right.
we actually work through.
Okay.
We still may need to rehash that a little bit more, but we step through that process at which the application comes in. You mean the demolition timeframes?
Yes.
Yes.
And then-
At what point does it put a hold on
Correct.
demolition or signify even demolition? And Aaron, actually, maybe you have if you have any insight into this further, but I talked to Mike. Aaron, as you may not know, was a property maintenance inspector, but deals now in your role at redevelopment authority with the demolition coordinator
Mhm.
on a daily basis, I would say, right? But Mike spoke to us about it, showed us the ordinance. At this moment, there is no real review kind of process or anything that puts, other than the permitting process.
Yeah.
And essentially you can receive, I think, within 3 days. Or if you apply for a permit that day, I think you can get the same.
Yeah,
permit that
there's
day.
no delay on a demolition. I mean, essentially. Yeah, I mean, you apply today, you're walking out of this office with a demo permit, you pay the treasurer's office, so there's no period of waiting or wait for any review of any kind, so.
And one of the things that the timing is good is that the city is rolling out this new digital software program called CityWorks. And all of the workflows are digital now, and so are digitally inputted. So if a demolition permit is applied for, somehow in the workflow, we need to incorporate that pings historic preservation if there's an application on the table.
It'd be nice if the, when there's demolition application, that somehow it goes on the website. It is something for public knowledge. Almost like if someone's applying for a permit. I know that doesn't usually go on a website, but I've seen the website has like past permits, but it's like, it gets on there 6 months later, but what good is the information?
And this software, I don't know how transparent code enforcement will be, but the hope is that we'll have dashboards and that we'll be able to see if a permit was pulled, including demo.
But then again, if the demolition permit is given like immediately, there's no chance even to look and see what it is, because it doesn't matter.
Right.
They're getting their permit.
Right, so a lot of that is, I mean, that's part of, I'm not having those, like, that's going to delay, all of that would delay the Article 7 if we want to work through it. So I don't know what, you have other suggestions as to how we can somehow put the language into the ordinance. And then once we work through the other systems, because that's a much bigger discussion.
Yeah, I don't think, we're not gonna resolve it. I think, I'm just kind of throwing things out there, maybe for future
No,
vacation.
I, to your point, I think the transparency and having that on the dashboard would be very helpful, but like if we were to say, I don't know what other demolition ordinances look like, but if they have a review period and then, you know, it's a week or you know, there's a turnaround period where you have to wait to get a demo permit. But somewhere in between, the local designations, the local applications need to be, that's what we're trying to do, and that's gonna take time. I don't know if that's going to be solved in a month.
But the overall hope is that we'd be able to put in enabling language into Article 7 and then continue the process to try to figure out how we can mirror that throughout the city's other ordinances that would address this and then also practices. That's Director Spride.
Yeah, I agree. I was just kind of citing that as, it'd be nice to bring that in somehow to make the whole, here we,
I think that what gives us pause is that, as many of you have seen, that when enabling language goes into an ordinance, doesn't necessarily be the trigger that we all hope. I mean, the HRC is a prime example of that. The enabling language is there for quite some time. The HRC came into fruition. So is a concern. Are there any other comments or questions about the work that we're doing with Article 7? We had a very productive meeting in their special session. We have a lot of clear guidance on how to move forward with everything. Sure.
so, you think it's gonna be ready for the next meeting, Jackie?
I mean, that would be my goal, to have everything, you know, have everything as like a final draft from the recommendations that we're talking about. But yeah,
Would the process then be that it passes this body and then goes to city council to
Correct.
pass that body?
correct. Yes, and then it would have 2 readings
Have
at
two
city
readings of
council,
that body
right?
and
And
public input.
Yes, and most likely we should probably invite at least Jasmine Flores and Kathy Shaw to the next meeting. Go over some of the sections in the, you know, have kind of a little bit more of a formal presentation for them. And then I would say that we could do a presentation if we wish at council as an overview of the edits. I don't know. Something but can of worms, but it'd be helpful.
Planning Commission also meets?
Yes, sorry, first planning commission, then, yes. Planning commission needs to make a motion to have it on agenda for council, yes. And planning commission also, that would require presentation of some kind, addressing what the amendments were. Because it's a zoning change.
Very much follows the exact same trajectory as creation of a, historic designation. And I know that as an additional step, we did want to run it through city legal. I think once, or even before it comes to this body for review.
Yeah, and we can, I mean, we did run it once by them. We made the suggested edits, but I think you're right to have them look through one more time. The only other question I had about Article 7 is, What about the forms that are associated with the application
They'll need to be revised.
and the bylaws? I think we talked about at some point. I think the bylaws, we were gonna reduce the bylaws, the language in the bylaws, because it had a lot of the same language from Article 7. And I know Heather has worked on the forms, but we talked about reviewing that, looking through that again. There's a lot of questions there about fees. There's a lot of other things, not just format, that need to be addressed. So that might require maybe a special meeting for the forms and the fees, especially associated.
It would be a good special meeting, just to focus on that. Do it.
But really the fee is the effort it takes for the administration to move it through and do the review. So I'm not sure how much
Are there
we'd be able
fees?
to offer that.
Are there fees associated with submitting an application? I don't think so, actually. It's the fees come into play with the certificate of appropriateness.
But not with a application for
I
this
don't,
district.
that's right. We looked into that. There is no fee for application to submit a local designation.
Just for COI probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've talked about different fees, right, covering the cost of the administrative and then increasing some of the costs because to some sort of, how do we describe it, to be able to deter those that might be using this in a different way. Not necessarily as a historic preservation tool, but to maybe set the neighbor. Yeah, I mean, I can call, if you would like to make a motion to call a special meeting, we can do that, or if you wish to wait till Article 7 is complete, we can do that as well.
That's. I think I would prefer to wait and take it one step at a time.
Okay.
There's a lot of moving parts. I think it's good when we can accomplish one thing, move on to the next.
Okay.
And with that, then we'll move on to our second item on the agenda, the citywide historic resource survey. Update on that. No. Until we have the historic
That's
preservation
okay,
plan again,
fine.
it's gonna be a lot of.
It's not a problem.
director.
I am prepared to update you on that. So last week I spoke with EDR consultants for the historic resource survey, and they are planning to be back in town on March 10th, the week of March 10th in our West Bay front. So we need to notify Gretchen Kerr and, ask if she'd like some materials or flyers, postcards, we can get that to her. So that is the schedule, tentative schedule, which is great because they haven't been here since, I don't know, the fall or something like that. Definitely before November because of this big snowstorm. And then I worked with Elizabeth Schultz from the state and went through and saw the information that EDR is putting into PA Share. She gave them an A+. She said they're doing exceptional work. She was very, very pleased with their work. She asked that we do our QA/QC on our side. It's more as looking through the information and kind of making sure like, oh yeah, that's the building, that's where it should be, that's the name. We don't have to check every single one because she's already scrubbed the data. But all of 12th Street is complete and in there if you want to look at it. And then they have the information, but it's not completed yet or approved for parts of our West Bay front and downtown. So she was very happy with our consultants and that was great news. Yeah, it's great.
All right then, Thank you for the update. Are there any questions or comments?
So what's the estimated completion date then? Because of the,
We have quite a long time still. We're
Okay.
gonna be here throughout the summer.
Okay.
So,
so before snow
yes,
next year.
yes. I don't know the exact.
Not before snow this year.
No.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, but you remember, this is just first phase, so we still have, this is only part of the city. I think there's a list, if you remember, of the neighborhoods that they're gonna be in. I think Lighthouse Pulaski is after OWB. And then, there's a full list, I can share it with you.
I'm just curious.
It's like six.
If it's ongoing, it's something,
neighborhoods.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 planning areas of the city, and then we'll have to find more money to go for phase 2. But Elizabeth said to me, and I think Heather stated this to HRC, is that as long as we are making progress and moving, she said that there are cities that have been working on their survey for 10 years. So as long as we are moving forward and making progress, even if it's small surveys along the way, then she's happy with that. So, maybe we use a CLG grant to do another portion of the survey, but as long as we make progress.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the new landmark recognition letter. I'd like to thank Cooper for doing a lot of work on this. It was distributed earlier and is in the back last page of the packet. If you care to review it, and I'll have to run through it. Cooper, would you like to talk us through it?
Sure. This letter is just a template. Everything in red obviously would change based on this being worded. But the template came from the letter that Pittsburgh sends, in addition to some comments from others, including some of them. So thanks for all that. It's just compiled, ready to go. Probably should have a signature behind it. So let's move on, but any other comments, feel free to let me know.
All right, then I turn to the commission. Commissioners, are there any comments or questions on the letter?
Can I ask a question, but not as a commissioner, but a general question?
Yes.
Does the commission prefer, would they like us to send these out to all of the ones that have been designated? Or do you want us to do this moving forward?
So, if they were designated, then we said not to,
Send it out to
because they didn't get this before.
I mean, no,
Yeah.
and there's not that many, but I just wanted to ask if you would like us to implement this, retro.
I think it might be a nice thing to do for, especially in May for historic preservation month, if we can tee them up for the half dozen or so.
Mhm.
Be a nice gesture.
You want a signature on this?
Sure. Looks more official with a signature, right?
Who should sign?
I was just thinking it's,
Yeah.
I was gonna say the mayor. It's his letterhead.
It's his letterhead, but on the bottom, it does say City of Erie Historic Review Commission, but we can change that to the mayor's administration. I mean, it doesn't matter. We'll just send it to the mayor, but whatever you decide is fine.
And we haven't decided with them, but I think that it has a lot more meaning than it does. From
I think
there.
I think Matt should sign it, but I like having the mayor sign it also, but I think having the mayor only sign it kind of diminishes the work that this organization does. I think it should be both.
And we'll put it on the mayor's letterhead then. Okay.
Yes. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to ratify the use of letter for future or past and future landmarks.
I would say I would move to accept the letters with minor changes.
Second.
Great. Motion in a second to a voice call or then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Exemption? All right, motion carries.
Nice job, Cooper.
All right, then, next order of business then is, the HRC's 2025 goals and priorities. For this, again, I look to you, Bragg.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks, Marie.
I apologize, everybody. My son had a hip replacement surgery. So, he just got put back in his room.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Sorry I'm late.
No, that's quite all right. So for the record, we have Mr. Pepper joining us. And we are on, old business. Item, we just started item.
Okay, thank you.
So, we don't have anything to show you at this moment. And, I think Cooper and I started to discuss, we started looking from page 119, moving forward in the historic preservation plan. There is a tremendous amount of information displayed in different ways in this implementation strategy. And some of the things you've made very good progress on. And so is the city by that means. But I think what we were talking about doing is putting this part of it, the year strategy, if you remember the 5-year work plan, putting this into a much easier way to read it. Because right now, I mean, you have to thumb through. I know Cooper was going to convert this into more of like an Excel spread on maybe 1 or 2 pages so that we can read through and prioritize that way. But yeah, we have not done a lot of work around this, and it's just that it's not been on the top of us the last couple of weeks, and I'm sorry. I think this is going to require a special meeting. And I don't know for the bylaws, if I think you're required to also have an annual report. We talked about setting these objectives first and then doing an annual report. However, we could do a simple annual report. I just did one for the EA. Well, I didn't do it, but one of the members did it. And it was just a couple bullets of what your accomplishments were for the year. We could put something like that together for the special meeting as well. But this is going to require us to delve into these strategies and goals.
Indeed. I'm thinking in particular because we'll have members from council with us at the next meeting. Perhaps it would be good if we could have a special session between now and then. So we're able to speak to that. Some kind of eloquence.
Right.
Absolutely. I know that for the notice of a special meeting, I believe we have to give the public 1 week or
4 days.
4 days. Right then, so at the earliest, we'd be looking at next Monday. The 10th. Anytime after that would be doable for a lot of you. Commissioners, do you have a preference, staff as well, since you're guiding us through?
We just need adequate notice, and then we can hold it in the planning department. It's fine. And we need a little bit of time to prepare this document. We need to also look through some of the specific objectives. I want to be able to put that in some kind of easier form to read, like the strategies themselves. And I think it makes sense to do the annual report at the same time, because as we're moving through this document, as we're looking at this document, preparing materials for the HRC special meeting, we can then kind of cross off what we've already accomplished and put that into the annual report.
So we're shooting for the 10th?
No. I think given that,
Yeah.
our next regularly scheduled meeting in April is on the seventh. So giving, I think, staff enough time to work through what I think would be reasonable to look at the week of the 24th.
So March?
Yes.
Or even not this Monday coming up, but the following week
17th.
is fine too. Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to push it that far out if you don't, unless you.
St. Patrick's
St.
Day.
Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah,
Indeed.
not that.
Well, does it have to be on a Monday?
No,
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 it doesn't.
it could, I should probably be.
I think
Why don't we say Wednesday, the 19th?
That works.
We have it at noon or? Sure. It's easier for me. I'm open, but.
Yeah, no, noon's good.
Can we do it on the 20th instead? Because I have.
Sounds good.
Noon?
That's
what
what matters.
Or
Yes.
we should, yeah. Oh, that's fine. Wednesday, the 19th is fine.
Oh.
Yes, at noon is fine.
That work for other commissions as well.
Yes,
And at noon.
At
Yes.
noon, and I'll send out a calendar invite, I'll send out reminders, and we'll have it in the planning department upstairs. And we'll send out materials for preparation for me. Okay,
Very good.
okay.
So that we can make it official, may I please have a motion from the commission to hold a special session on Wednesday, March 19th at noon. Is there a second? Second. Brennan, another voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. That moves us into an E, which is May as Preservation Month recognition. I know that we had had some discussion on this at our previous commission meeting in February, but I don't think we've had the opportunity to circle back on any of those ideas, but again, for you, Dr.
Well,
Fry.
We did talk about doing an editorial, but I don't know, Linda, you had mentioned that that was more coming from preservation. So I think we now know that EDR is coming back in March. I think it would be best to hold a press conference in May.
Okay.
Did you, Dave, say that you were working on something? Oh, no, you did,
No, I
you
didn't.
had something, yeah. Press release.
this might be a good thing for like the Erie Reader to do a whole article about. And this is kind of something that's right up, they're a little more in depth than the Times News these days.
And in May, I think we should have a tour of some of our, I mean, the people next door to me's house is amazing. It's gone from looking like a tenement to gorgeous. I mean, maybe that would be a good thing to do and people love those tours. We could probably get the History Center to help us orchestrate it.
What would we be touring?
The houses that have gotten our grants. I mean, it doesn't have to be all of them, but a lot of them look really good now.
We could pick 3.
Well, I think there are more than 3.
I mean, it's hard to get all those people through.
Well, I wonder too, instead of imposing on someone's home, we might split the difference. I know that.
Well, I mean, they could be outside. They don't need to go in the house because it was all about the exterior. It would just be a little walking tour or a driving tour or a, here are the places that have benefited tour. Cause I don't think we wanna go inside because none of the people got money for the inside.
No, but I wonder, we can kind of synthesize all of these things together. I know that,
Well, sure, it could be a part of it.
holding a press conference perhaps with the mayor, and then recognizing that we're one of the landmarks, it'd be an opportunity to hand out a letter. I think one landmark in particular is a public space, the art museum, the old customs house has been designated. Perhaps we can ask them if we are able to use their space for
Little reception.
a reception, exactly, and invite the recipients of the grant, and those who have accomplished, their renovations, and perhaps put on a bit of a spotlight with the work that's been done there, as well as those that have designated as.
Well, we could have big blow up photographs of each of the people that, got a grant. We could have like a little, I mean, the history, that part of the art museum certainly could accommodate big blow ups of the facades of these buildings that have been fixed up. I mean, that is a point of pride, I think,
Right.
with this group. I mean, yes, there were some that were not, maybe at the end of the day, the best, but there's some that are really good. And I think we ought to sing our praises.
And we do have before and after pictures.
Right, we have all that.
Be, I think coordinating with the mayor's office on his schedule, and then also seeing if the art museum would be able to host sometime in May for a reception like that.
I'm sure they would.
I'm happy to reach out to them and ask on our behalf.
Well, especially since their building it's publicity for them. I don't see why they turn us away.
Would you want to have the reception on the same day as the press conference? Because all the press conferences are on Thursday in May. So I need to just reach out to our new communications director and ask if we can hold, if they have anything scheduled.
If you take that component of the internal city machinations, I'm happy to reach out to the Pacific Art Museum, and then we can coordinate on putting something on the calendar for May.
It might be nice to invite those to the mayor's press conference and then possibly go from there, just walk together to the.
Yeah, that would be an easy thing, right?
Except those are at 10 a.m. press conference.
So we could then go to have a little reception at the art museum in the old part.
Right, yeah, exactly that.
And I think this would be a nice opportunity to also include some of those. Go ahead. No, to include some of the other partners. We could ask the Hagen History Center to join us.
And they were one of our
They were
recipients.
recipients,
Oh,
Erie Day School,
but
and we can get on this invite.
Forging the partnership with downtown as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're in downtown, it seems very logical. So I apologize for.
Yeah, no worries. I was just gonna say, I'm happy to help coordinate with the art museum too on their facilities committee. Sister is the board. Well, and I live next door, so I'm.
Good to know.
Well, you're a good contact for this.
you just nominated yourself.
Yeah, indeed.
That's what happens.
Right.
If you want, sure,
Uh,
your committee chair.
it definitely seems like we have a plan moving forward, so.
Do you want me to contact Adam Welch and see if he is interested in doing something in like a story and a cover photograph to the Erie Reader?
Yes.
I mean, that if we give him enough lead time, he could probably actually do it and we could supply him with details. But I don't know if I would give him then, Cooper, would you be the point person that Adam would call and you could give him photographs and a list of successful results oriented, so it looks good for the commission and looks good for the city and
Yeah, I think the before and the after pictures are very dramatic and get people's attention.
Yeah.
I mean, like, with the History Center, that poor
Who wrote
roof
your
of
phone
that
number?
thing was awful.
814.
Yeah, we'd have to pick examples that really
Also,
stand out. It's-
969.
Yeah.
And the house next door to me,
What's that address?
it's, I'm 333, I think they're 329. It's a
What's
beautiful
that?
house. It's the one with the
Tomorrow.
gorgeous,
Stay open tomorrow.
columns, very beautifully carved columns on the porch.
It was the
And
Gibbs
it's-
captain built that.
Yeah, and, it's
It's
really,
great.
it's such a beautiful house.
Sounds like we all have our marching orders. I think we'll work on it over the next few weeks or so, and then we'll report back at our meeting in April.
I don't mean to cut out the Erie Times News, so my bad. Is there anybody that you would like me to contact on the Erie Times News and ask them to also participate?
I think we should do that as well.
Is it-
And the TV
I mean,
stations.
Kevin
And
Flowers.
there's TV stations, I have
Yeah,
Kevin's number.
Kevin Flowers.
Let me call Kevin.
And I assume that the mayor's office has a standard,
Yes,
like, press release. that
right,
they can,
right.
But we want to take advantage of that to make sure that everyone's included.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the communications director,
Because they should do
let them know
the,
that we want to do a press
Yeah.
release and a press
this is me doing
conference.
the camera. Who was the oldest person in the room?
All right, then. Thank you all for helping. This is turning out to be an exciting event.
I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right, then, our next order of business, well, I guess we're talking about things on State Street, is the State Street National Register Historic District. And for that again, Director Spry.
There's not really any update at this moment. We have to work on the RFP with, Erie Downtown Partnership. And, that's where we're at. So we don't have a real like internal deadline for when we want to post the RFP, but we need to make that a priority in the next week and a half. So, Melinda and I have taken it upon ourselves to keep Emily. I don't think she really needs this, but keep her.
Provide support.
Provide support.
Thank you. And that concludes our old business. Moving on to new. Here in action, we have historic nominations. We are not in receipt of any historic nominations, and for amendment commission, we have placed a moratorium ourselves not to accept until the revisions to Article 7. Next item of business then is applications for certificate of appropriateness. My understanding is that we have none to consider. Moving on from that, item C is revisions to Erie downtown design guidelines. And so for that, yeah,
Yes.
we will propose that you provide it.
Yeah, so we met to discuss the guidelines of how we're going to, but we met, but we didn't really sort it all out. We had this discussion about, the guidelines of what we're gonna be, doing there. So I don't think there's really not a lot of news besides we were gonna, review further and discuss.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few things that we went through, in terms of like particulars at the beginning that we need to address in terms of process and the HRC. But we didn't get really into the nitty
We
gritty
had
of
some
what.
suggestions for with Emily suggestions for updating the guidelines, but maybe certain things to focus on, like, financial, funding, that type of thing, and other items. And then she would work with their consultant to get those updated at some point in time.
Right, and I think Emily mentioned that she is planning to work with the prospectus
Yeah,
and
to
that,
continue to work on it.
yes,
Yeah.
and that we would hope that prospectus would also provide us with recommendations as what to help update the document as if it was going to be adopted.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what suggestions would they have, given that we're gonna directly apply it to this use, what suggestions would they have? Because it's written, of course, to, discuss all of downtown, the designated area. But to apply it to what we're suggesting with the districts and individual listings is something that needs some further coordination.
Well, and we also pointed out that some of the language would need to be updated for the revisions of Article 7. So, like, there's the process for designation is outlined in the design guidelines, and so, right, yeah, once Article 7 is revised, the changes to that designation process will need to be updated.
Yeah, the workflow diagram that they have in the design guidelines.
So I think it was a good meeting, just to kind of lay out all the concerns and all the issues that need to be addressed and to better align it. But again, nothing was finalized other than that good discussion about what again, they're gonna get perspectives as input also. So we'll reach out to that.
Are we still looking for an executive director?
You, for,
For the-
you mean the
Us.
historic preservation planner? Yes. Can give you an update on that.
How's that going?
When we get to the agenda.
Yeah, exactly that is right.
I just wondered, because I apologize, I was out of town in January and February both, so I missed 2 meetings, so.
But all right, I think that we have a director's report at the end, and it's a perfect opportunity for a director's report. We're probably very sick of it, answering all of our questions. All right, then any other questions or comments on the revisions to Erie Downtown? Hearing none, then we'll move on to our next item of business, which is the Keystone Historic Preservation Grant, Planning Project Residential Design Guidelines and Resource Survey. So again, Director Spry, if you would.
So I just want to make a note here that I would like to try to put some deadlines on these. Not necessarily for completion, but deadlines to know what exactly we're going to be doing for the design guidelines and also for the RFP, because I don't want those to get too far down the road where we're not, meeting timely. So I'll definitely reach out to Emily and try to get some more concrete and see if where we can support her. In terms of where are we? The Keystone? Keystone.
Yes.
Okay, so today we are submitting a grant for residential design guidelines to the state. Cooper and Melinda primarily worked on this grant, so thank you for doing that. We are asking for 25,000, which is the max, and the city would be putting in 35, is that right? 32.5 as a match for design guidelines. We've estimated what the cost would be for this project, and while I think it may be a little on the low side, that's where we're coming at in that. So that is due today. And so we need to deadline today.
Remember the cost was for the
Yes,
The other-
52.5 for the cost for the downtown design guidelines.
Yep.
52.5 in 2020. So,
it's a lot of work for really good to tell you the truth.
yeah. Yeah, for 65,000 or 62.5, I know, yeah. But part of, I think, part of the fees in 2020 were for publication. There was maybe a bit more robust engagement piece to it, since, there wasn't a lot around historic preservation at the time, even though that's still necessary. We did incorporate a public engagement piece to it. And even after the plan is complete, there was there were series of training sessions after Cooper.
Yeah, I think the timeline would be like, by this time next year, we would have decided on the consultant. And then through the end of 2026, be making the design guidelines. And then we put in that the consultant would create some educational training sessions that would be done in the months following the completion of the grant in March 27. So it's really kind of a 2+ year timeline.
And we would receive word of award by, is it July? July of this year, we're awarded. That being said, we still have CLG. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the next.
We'll
Go ahead.
transition with.
Yes,
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Great. Thank you. Moving to certified local government project grants for planning guidelines, surveys, that sort of thing.
yes, since we are a designated certified local government, we, just like in previous years, we have the ability to apply for CLG grants, which we should, because you as at HRC are required 4 hours, I believe it's in your bylaws, 4 hours of training, the 4,
Yes.
it's 4, I think it's 4, yeah. So I know that you did that last year, you did a virtual online last year through a CLG grant. So it'd be great to do another CLG training session, training grant. And then, we could apply for something else, which possibly could come out of our special meeting when we talk about that. So, there's the smaller grant is up to $9,000 or $12,000. And then the planning grant is up to $25,000. And one of my questions I had was, can we use CLG money? If we applied for CLG money this round, can we use that as a match for not a? Yeah, I think we can use it not as a match, but we can use it to supplement Keystone, right? We
So
did
the
that.
the way we used it previously is that the Keystone funding and the CLG funding were used on the same project, but they were not used as matched one another. So there was enough match that the Keystone grant was matched and the CLG grant was
Right.
matched. And the way that project was structured was the one grant covered the
Yes,
community engagement piece of the survey, the first phase of the survey. And the other grant covered the consultants time to begin the actual survey work.
right,
So the two sources of funding, again, were used on the same project, but not as matched to each other.
right. I remember the CLG requires a match as well, and so, okay.
One that we've already hired, right?
Yeah, there are still 2 open grants
Survey.
for the survey, exactly that.
2 Keystone grants that are still open. Our one CLG is closed, which was phase 1, the engagement piece, and we still have a CLG open, the second CLG that is also for a consultant piece.
I very much agree with you that our special session in which we're able to work through priorities for 2025 is really going to be key in informing what to move forward with the CLG grant. Does the timeline for the application match the dates we've set for ourselves?
So from last year, I remember that this is a rolling application, but I think it was only the smaller one. We should check that though.
It's on every project, the project and a very specific project.
Yeah, so the training one is, the smaller one is, let's see,
Thanks.
Oh, great. I'll have to find out. I'm pretty sure the one is rolling and the other one has a specific deadline. This last year, we missed the Keystone application deadline, but then we were able to meet this two CLGs. But they were submitted almost at the same time. I remember, and
Yes.
we used one of them for training, and what was the other one? What did we apply for? Or did we only do a training grant?
I was gonna say, I'm not sure the CLG project grant was submitted.
I don't think so either. But
I wouldn't keep us hanging, but I know that
Yes.
if we need to change the date of the
Yeah.
special meeting, that's done now.
Bless you. Okay. We'll have to find that out. And what the deadlines are.
All right, then, like several of us are trying to research that. So while we do, we will move on, for the director's report. And perhaps give some of the other folks an opportunity to look up what the CLG definitions are. The director,
Oh, I don't know if I have anything else to report. Let's see.
Resolution.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, we had 6 applicants that we were interested in looking at. 3 of them were, well, I think 4 of them are actually students that are still in school and graduating in May. In some related fields, whether it's art history, some of them are historic preservation, some planning, duo with some other. So we screened, well, we tried to screen, one was a no-show, 3 of the students. So we screened 2 students last week, and then we are not proceeding with those 2. And we are going to have formal interviews for the other 3. If those don't work out, then we're going to post, which is actually not such a bad thing to have a little bit of a delay, since it would be very difficult to transition somebody at this point and
We don't even have the rules written.
well, to integrate them into like this process that we're in the midst of would be difficult because, you know, they haven't been part of it. So, it's not such a bad thing to have someone come in May or June, you know, it's added work for us, but, we're managing somewhat. So, yeah, that's where we're at. One of the other applicants is a student. One of them is actually a attorney that became a teacher, high school teacher, and kind of an interesting path. And then the other one is archaeology. Yeah, archaeologist.
Are we allowed to use headhunters?
I don't know that answer to that. We have an HR department here at the city here that we've asked to post not only on Indeed. I mean, that's their primary application. But we've asked them to post on several different websites that have been recommended to us by the state. We've also let the state know.
PA.
AP, yes, and also landscape architects, the national, I post on there a lot, and I'm successful with those. We've also asked to post on the APA website too. So,
I'm surprised there's only 3 or 6, you know, I'm surprised that,
well, there were 30,
oh,
so there were more than 30, there might have been 40, but I mean,
because that's the number I would expect.
there were a lot, but they were not all or didn't have the criteria to meet. we did have one person apply from ECRDA. Who I think is very good administratively, but doesn't have a lot of. Background in historic preservation, but we need to weigh those types of things. So because you're not gonna find a lot of that expertise in this area because you don't have those degrees coming out of the schools to do. So same with planning. You don't have a planning program locally. Or a GIS program. So
Or an architecture.
we do have an art history at Edinburgh, right? And I think Mercier just has art history.
It's an architecture.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, right, architecture, but I think we do have art history, but no one locally applied as an art history major for the position, which maybe we should send it to Edinburgh. I've done that in the past, sending it to colleges.
So is it, I don't even know, does the city allow you to seek professional headhunters?
I don't know.
Just matter of us. I mean, you might find the right person. for
Right.
that.
Right, but I just
I-
wonder, I mean, because you know, maybe there's a rule, you just can't do that, and so there's no point in talking about it.
I think the cost is the factor, and if we're gonna do it for one department, then it should be allowed for all departments, but I have not seen that internally ever.
Is it people, are people thinking about, they're from out of state or out of the city and thinking about moving to Erie
Oh.
and being the,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we had 2 Florida State,
Yeah,
well, one didn't show. And then.
because he read our weather report?
yeah, well, the first one
McCain.
from Florida, it's like spun the
Yeah,
camera around. and
yeah.
said, You sure, like that the window, like, oh, snow, is what you want?
All right, I'm just asking.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm
there,
wondering, is Erie, I mean, in general, I know it's off the topic here, but I mean, just that Erie is a draw for talented, trained individuals who would be thinking about working. It's a small town, has issues with school systems, and there's a lot of, I'm just wondering if we're attractive,
I think.
or are we dateable?
From what I have seen with the comparisons with the salary.
Yes, that's
And
another issue.
Kathy Rosdet, when she was in this role. She intentionally increased the salary as much as she could for the historic preservations. And that's why I believe you were able to attract someone from out of state. I mean, that Chris Kinder came all the way up from, where it was from
North
Alabama
Carolina,
or
yes.
somewhere, you know. I think the salary was driving, now we're 5 years later. And the salary is not as competitive as it was 5 years ago. That I don't think we're gonna see as many out-of-state, non-students,
Right.
professionals applying for the position. Because the comparison really, you're looking, it's about $10,000 more actually in comparison.
Because I'm wondering,
Starting.
if we're just competitive.
Yeah,
Well, it also isn't, I don't think it's an issue that's particular just to Erie. I know that there's a lot of municipalities that are really struggling to have to attract talent.
Yeah,
Because
right.
at the moment, there's a really a pull in the private sector for people that have experience with historic preservation. And, you know, private sectors, maybe different ballpark. I know.
Look
So-
what happened to Kathy Rosner. We do it to some degree.
Well, I can say that we appreciate what that you've done and that you've done, and kind of continuing to move things forward. I know it's a lot on everybody. And I very much agree that this isn't something that we want to rush into or, you know, or even, ensure that I think we want to ensure that we have the right person for the position.
Are there any magazines that we advertise in or have any, you know, like the New York Times historic building real estate thing? Would that be a place to have an ad? I don't know.
that's not an avenue that I've been using.
No, I just-
No, but I mean, there are specific sites that we are using where historic preservation, you know, not just planners, but people that are interested in that line of work are looking. And so I think we've done a pretty good job crossing all those.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I wouldn't say that the paper is really any type of paper format is really where
It's just not coming
people
out.
are going, yeah. I did want to mention that we did have they weren't all undergraduate, one was a graduate student. So, and what you said is very true, is that I know that we need a really strong person in this, strong skilled person in this role. And so I think this initial screening is very important because we're looking at them as students, which, we want to make sure they're able to handle the amount of administrative work that's really required in this role. So, and also, just if it's a good fit.
Again, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for the director? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Sorry.
There's just so when the minutes were passed, the minutes of the regular meeting were passed. There's a
Right,
study
discussion,
session.
yeah, I thought that too, yeah.
All right, then, let's rewind. Would you be willing to rescind your motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there then a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our special session? Which was held on,
February 11th,
It says the one.
the 12th, perfect.
it was held on February 12th, 2025.
Oh, yeah. Or whatever it says on the minute, February.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very unanimous in that. Then,
And now,
now it's, there a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, Commissioner Reese. Then I'll take it from Commissioner Pepper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.